on this computer. They talk so formally. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody this morning?
Great.
Okay, so I have ladies with me this morning. Pat, I thought you were down here.
We are down here, but if I move my car, I'm going to lose my parking space.
Oh my God.
Because the entrance to the tournament is right outside our door, so.
Okay,
Someone will take it. She won't be able to get
But I'll come see you Monday.
okay. Whew. Samantha, did you get a little package?
Yes, I did. I was so excited to get it, and my threads. Oh my goodness. I have plans for those. Like I actually have a specific canvas that I mean to use those on.
Okay,
So I'm very excited about it.
cool. So today you should have all gotten the paper with the new stitches. And we may add a couple more stitches at the end and I'll send them out. And I promise you that the tutorials will be up this afternoon. Last week it took me some time because I was a one-man band, but when I have somebody helping me, it goes by so much faster. So I'm gonna have Andrea start this morning with her stitches because the first one on her list is Nabucco and I suck at it. So, and that's just me being honest. So I'm going to turn this around to Andrea. And we'll go.
Good morning. Okay, here we go. So the first one is actually one of my favorites. I actually use it a lot. It's good for clothing. It's good for background. It's good for small spaces. It's just good for anything. Good morning. And I've got to find it on here. Okay, so it's this one here. It sits next to the Alicia's lace with the lighter background, if she sent it. So on the thing that I had her send you guys out is a stitch diagram that talks you through how to do it. So we're going to start, you're going to start it. And usually the best thing to do is to work a stitch like this in the longest possible stretch that you can do it to set it up. So if you start this in the far right corner and you're going to do one little just tent stitch, and then you're going to count down 1 and over 2, and you're going to go diagonally up 3. So it's a short and a long. And as you get that, the first row is usually the toughest. Then the second row is just where you have a long stitch, you have a short stitch. And where you have a short stitch, you have a long stitch. And it just keeps moving along. You can show them that diagram. It is actually a true diagonal stitch because it's over the same ones. And then as you start working it, you'll notice you'll start to get into a little pattern with it, with it's hard to show on here, but if you look at it, when you come back the other way, you'll notice when you go from left to right, when you do the tent stitch, your long stitch is going to be just right directly underneath that tent stitch, running up 3 diagonally. Does everybody see that? Mm-hmm. See where, and when you come back the other way, it is directly underneath and then goes up 3 and it falls right underneath. Yeah. And so it makes it a little bit easier going from left to right on your canvas. But like I said, you can do this, you can double it. So you could do 2 singles, 2 short, 2 long. You can triple it. You can reverse it. So if you're using it for a shirt or a coat or an animal, you can go one direction and then you can reverse it and go the other direction, and it sets up, delineates them out nicely. You can also alternate them, and that's on the second page that I sent you, where it's almost like a woven stitch, and you just take them back the other way. The other nice thing about this stitch is where you have the tent stitch, anywhere where you have that tent stitch, you can change it up. You could add a sparkly thread. You could change a different colored thread, like I did on one of these here at the bottom. I did a totally different color. there. So I did the long stitch in the lighter color and then the tent stitch in the darker color on that one. So yeah, you go sparkle. You can also, in that tent stitch, you could do a cross stitch, or you can actually add a bead in that spot. So yeah, so it could be different color, shiny, same color, cross stitch, bead. And like I said, it works anywhere. It is, and it stitches up pretty cool. Now on the bottom of that second page that I had her send you guys, it does show it on the left. It gives you the diagram in black and white with the numbers. Then on the right, it does it in various colors. So if you're mixing it up in colors, it also makes it a little bit easier to see if you're trying to figure it out. So just give it a try. If you have any questions, let me know. But like I said, that one is a great stitch. The second one is, that takes up a lot of space and is nice for large areas, is the diagonal triple Parisian. And this is normally run as a horizontal stitch or a vertical stitch, a straight stitch, but you can also work it on a diagonal. You can add a row of tent in between each row of these, and you could do that in the same color, different color. Let me find it on here. There it is. There's the triple Hungarian Parisian there. It's a real pretty stitch, gives just a little bit of movement to it.
So it'd be really good for sand or waves or
Sky,
sky, like clouds.
water. It's really good for water. And if you add a single tent stitch in between each group of these, it gives it a nice little sparkle to it. And actually I have that.
Where do you mean to add the tent stitch? Where
You would add the tent stitch. Where'd it go?
down here, this one or?
No. Right here. She's added it. Right there. It looks like a tent stitch, but you can do a line of
Nope.
tent stitch.
I did. Hold on one second. I used it on Mr. Whale. I haven't even opened him yet. I did it in the water. Okay, so I worked it in the water and I added a sparkly in between, just to give it a little shine.
Oh, so you're doing. So sometimes you did two or like, cause.
So the navy blue
No,
is
did
this.
all three. Yep, so the
Oh.
navy and the medium blue. And then I added a sparkly silk lame that
wow.
ran in between. So I actually used it in the water of the whale. And as you can see, I've got two shades of blue. And in between each row of the shades of blue, I used a silk lame just to add just a little bit of sparkle to it.
I take a picture. of
Yep, you sure can. Yep. Okay.
We'll take a picture of that in when we do the tutorial, and we'll send that to you as well.
We'll send it out.
Any questions? Is everybody there?
Yes.
Thumbs up, y'all good?
All right, I have a question.
Sure.
When I've been working on the crosses and I'm getting ready to start one of the stars, and I'm having a hard time figuring out where to start. Like when I did the diagonal mosaic stitches and the crosses, I started right in the middle. And when I did the vertical and horizontal, I started on either end. But when I'm doing, like I was gonna try, Andrea, you were showing me where you did the Scotch stitch,
Yes.
and I can't figure out where to start it.
Okay. Always
And with
start.
these, I have the same problem.
Right, and you always try to start where you can run the longest stretch of it. So you would start
Okay.
like an upper corner, or if you're running it horizontally, you would start where you've got the longest stretch of where it's going to run.
Okay,
And then from there, it sets it up. And then from
Okay.
there, you work it on either side of that one long setup row.
because on yours, I couldn't quite figure out where you had started.
And some of them I may have started, I usually try to start up in a corner. Or I would start somewhere like right about here at that
Okay.
corner. And then I would work it down.
Okay,
And then I would work it either way
right,
from there.
okay,
Yeah, so wherever I could get, yeah, so for like this one, I probably started here in this far corner and worked it that way, just to
Okay.
get my setup stitch. And then anything that was diagonal, I would have started up in a corner and then just run it diagonally down.
got it, okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah, and then just work the bottom and then work the top. And then once you get to the bottom, just end your thread and then just move up to the front or vice versa.
Okay,
Yeah, but anytime you've got a large area or a stitch that's got several steps to it, run the longest place you can run it.
Because it's gonna set up
It's
everything
gonna
else.
set it up, because like that Nobuku, if you set up that long row of it, anywhere you have a long stitch over 3, the next stitch on either end of that is going to be a 10th stitch.
got it.
And then anywhere you've got a 10th stitch on either side of that 10th stitch is going to be a long stitch over 3. So once you get that one row all in there, then you can think, okay, oh, that's 1 stitch. The next stitch has to be 3. And if it's not, if you've got 2 next to it, then somewhere in there, you've gotten something flip-flopped
Screwed up.
and you just pull them out and go back to where it lines back up again,
Perfect, okay, thank you.
or keep going and ignore it.
I can't do that.
I know, that's why I said that. Okay, the third stitch is a woven stitch, which is it's almost like an over 2 up 2, and it's another one that's good for baskets, hats, clothing, landscapes, sand. It's not real good for backgrounds.
No, it's just a lot of work
Yeah.
for backgrounds.
And you need to work it. You do see a little bit of the canvas through it. So you need to work it on something that's close to the color, unless you want it to come through like with sand or let's say grass. Then. I don't
Is
have a
this for
lot.
the Scotch? I'm sorry, is this for the
Okay.
Scotch stitch?
We're on the woven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the woven, and it's here in this darker color up here at the top. So again, you're going to start on the right-hand side. And you're just going to run as long as you can your first row over 2. You're going to be going from the bottom up. So in your first stitch, wish we were set up and I could diagram it. We'll do a video. But you'll go bottom to top, then you'll skip a hole, bottom to top, and you just work all the way across with the 1 row. Then you're going to come back on the second row and you're going to go in the opposite direction. And you're actually, when you come up through the bottom and you're coming back up through the top, you're going to go just slightly up underneath that first stitch you put in. And they're almost going to be like a T-stitch, where it's just going to fold right underneath that stitch. Yes, and this is another one you can do alternating colors. It looks nice also with over dyed threads.
Would you do half of that to fill in to make? it
You would, then you
straight?
would just, and then to compensate, you would just do 1 stitch to compensate.
Half or whatever
Right,
you have.
yeah.
So when you're coming back, are you here, are you still going bottom to up?
Yes. Yeah, and then then you just pierce right up underneath there. And then you just come back to here and you're just repeating back under,
So you're
and it
always
just falls
skipping it,
right.
You're always skipping.
Yep,
one.
you're always skipping.
Mhm.
Yep, so it's always over 2 up 2 or down 2 over 2.
So think of one direction as a 10th stitch over 2.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, a skipped 10th stitch over 2.
Yeah.
And then coming the opposite way back, a skipped 10th over 2.
Right. You can also double this and you can triple it. So if you want a little bit larger area of a woven, this one can also be enlarged. It can also be enlarged. So instead of going over 2, If you have a really large area, you could actually do it over 4.
Did you do that on here?
I did this, yep, it's up there.
Oh, pretty.
Yep, and I worked
But
it.
that didn't look like it really
Worked it in the
showed
pink.
through.
Not too much. Yeah, so there's that one. Okay, so that was my 3.
Okay, so then we're gonna go over to mine, which is the Scotch stitch. Hi, Pam. You must be on mute. So the Scotch stitch, let me get to it, is over 1 stitch, over 1 hole, over 2, over 1 hole, over 1 stitch. It's this down here. So that's your typical Scotch stitch, right there. Okay? And then when you're going to reverse it, you start with, what I found is if I was down here in this little corner, I started right here with this little corner going the opposite direction. And it allowed me to set it up, because you're always over the same amount of threads, the same amount of stitches on top and on the bottom. And then you just repeat the design and how it looked. And I did mine with a tent stitch in the middle. So mine is down there.
I like that.
And kind of gave it a little variation.
So
I'll take
it's
a picture of this
it's
as
each
well.
Square, it's okay, so it's each square and then a row of tent in the middle.
And yes, and then each
Okay.
square. And I actually started, and Pat, you had asked this question. So I started here in the corner and set it up there. It was long enough for me to get a pattern.
Got it.
Okay. So I started right there, as opposed to, maybe some people would have started down here in the longest one, but I started up here in the corner. And I did that based on the fact that sometimes I'll mess up and I know myself. So I figured that if I started there, I can at least have this whole row going the length of it, knowing that that would be correct. Okay. And we will demo this out for you. Like I said, this will be done today as well. So you have one going this way, another set of squares going this way, and then your tent below. And then starting, and then just repeating it. So they line up under, so if your squares are going this way, every single row is going to go that way. If your squares are going this way, every single row that has the squares will go this way. So they kind of looks like a triangle of sorts.
It's good for buildings.
Yeah.
Yep, it's good for, and you can also take the Scotch stitch on a diagonal and do a diagonal Scotch.
Yeah. And it's not only just good for buildings, but like a lot of times I'll use it to frame something out. So if I've done some of Pippin Designs has some great designs, and they always have those borders around them. And I'll take those borders and I might do a couple of rows of Scotch. You just have to make sure that you're counting out. If you're going across 4, you want to make sure you're going down 4 in total. So it becomes a complete square. Okay.
Could you show that picture again, Michelle, of yours?
Yeah.
Did you have 10 stitches going vertically and horizontally?
No,
Okay.
just vertically,
Oh, just underneath, so not in between the stitches?
not in between.
Okay.
Okay. So that would have taken too much mind. And my mind doesn't work after 5.
Okay.
Okay. So that being said, those were the stitches that we gave you this week, but I can add a couple more. And then I can send them off to you, and I can we'll also demo them. You want me to add a couple more?
Sure.
You added a different one. There's some.
Sure, why not?
Oh, did we
It's
do the
Byzantine.
Byzantine?
No, we haven't done Byzantine yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna let Andrea do the Byzantine. Okay, all right. I'll find it on here.
Okay, so here's the worked Byzantine in that medium pink color there. So that's a Byzantine. Again, you're gonna start at the top corner. So you would just start in the top corner. Just hit a corner there,
Mhm.
and you're just gonna run it diagonal, and you're just gonna set it up. So here is, and I think I did just the simple Byzantine. I think it's Byzantine number 1. Isn't that over 3? I did 3s. Okay, so here's the Byzantine stitch.
So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on your 4th row, you're starting down. And then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and on your 4th row, you're gonna start vertical and keep repeating that. So that's the way she did it. Now, if you look at mine, I can't see where,
Yep.
if that's in, all right, if you look at mine, I did it in several different colors. No, that's Bargello.
Oh,
This
there
is
it is.
Byzantine.
There it is.
All right, I did it in several different colors, so I set myself up. And then I just fall, and then once you've set yourself up with one row, the next, everything else,
Yeah.
I swear to you guys, is easy.
Yes.
Hmm.
So usually when I do it, I count. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4 across, and then I count that first one, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4 down.
I do the same thing.
They're all the same length. When you hit that number 4, then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then move to the side.
Mhm.
Because your stair step is like stairs, and you're stair stepping it down. So I just count 4, and then 4, and then 4, but you always count that first one or the last one you just did. as
So
you're
in the-
coming down.
In the diagram we have, it's 5, but I guess that doesn't really matter, right?
You
It
can
could
do
be
5.
longer or shorter.
You can do it with 2, you can do it with 5, you can do it over 3 holes, 4 holes, 2 holes. You can make it whatever size you need it to fill whatever area you have. And we just worked it over 4.
Yeah, I worked it.
It's
over
just,
4.
it's whatever you count as that last one. So if you're doing 3, it would be 1, 2, 3, and on 3 you go down, and then you go 1, 2, 3 over
Yeah.
and down, and
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
so
So
that it looks like stairs. Got it.
Correct. Yes, yes. And it's the same number that you're working vertically or working down that you work to the side. So if you've got 4 going down or 3 going down, you're going to work the same number moving sideways in order to keep them all even. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so that's your Byzantine, and I'm sorry that I forgot that. So, all right, so the other one that I'm gonna show you is called the Old Florentine. And for those that get the subscription box, it's actually in your new book.
Cool.
Okay. It's the very first one.
Oh.
Okay. It's this one here.
Okay.
All right, so it's over 3. And so what I did to set myself up is I did the first row. Okay, and you're gonna laugh at how I did this because I kept turning my canvas. So when I was turning my canvas, this one was worked vertically right there. So I did the first row. So it's over 3, over 1, over 3, over 1, and I did that all the way down. And then for my second color, anything that was over 3 is now over 1.
Mhm.
And anything that was over 1 is over 3. And I just went back, and so I did the second row, and that lined the whole thing up. Really easy stitch. And actually the coverage isn't bad considering that there's a different color underneath there. And once again, I'll demo that. We'll demo that today. But it was a simple stitch, and it had really good coverage. You could use it on a house, like on a building. Rooftops would be great. Chimney. You could also use it on what are those things called? Sidewalks? That would be fun.
A border.
A border. Once again, I don't see this as a background stitch unless, well, you could use it as a background stitch, and here's how you could use it as a background stitch. Depending on what you're doing, you could use it on a background stitch if you chose to do something, maybe make it a little bit bigger. All right, so making it bigger and making the colors not as vibrant. So maybe just an offset of the color. So you have, say you're doing it in cream, and you have one color of cream and then another color of cream for the second row. And that'd be really pretty. You know where this really would have been pretty, Pam, is on the initial letters.
That would have been fun to do.
Yeah,
I have another letter to do, so.
that would have been fun there. So that is the old Florentine, and I'll show you one more because I think you're going to be happy the fact that I've tried to give you things that I need that book that cover spaces, because I'm going to tell you it makes a big difference in getting this, and there's a lot going on. So I did a balloon satin stitch last night, which is this here.
Okay.
Okay.
And which book is that one in?
This is Stitches to Go.
Okay.
Okay. And it is page 3. And so the first 2 stitches are over one hole. And I'm saying holes just so you know what I'm talking about. The third stitch is over 3. Oh, they did an extra row. Okay. So I did the third stitch over 3, and then the next 2 rows, I didn't do the fourth one. I went right to 5 and 6. Yeah, it's kind of like a souffle, but it's a smaller balloon. And the only thing that I'll say is, so when you have your longest stitch on the next row, that becomes your shortest stitch, and your stitches in between stay the same size. So, and then your shortest stitch becomes your longest stitch, therefore creating a balloon. And I'm hoping you can see it. I did it right here.
Nice.
I've seen that on backgrounds of things.
It can absolutely be done on a background. Absolutely be done in a background. And I just, and honestly, this was, what I did is I didn't do as many rows as the diagram in the Stitches to Go book, but you don't have to as long as it lines up. Or you can make it even a little bit bigger. You can go over, and once again, it's one of those stitches where as long as the whole idea is for it to balloon out, right? And then to come back in. So almost think of a rounded diamond. Okay, so but you have to have enough stitches. If your middle stitches is 2, that means your end stitches have to be 2, and everything else can be 1 in the middle. All right, everything else in between that longest middle stitch. And so basically you're going to go up. So when you start at the very top with your shortest stitch, and then you're just going out 1 again, out 1 again, in 1 again, and in 1 again. So that is the balloon stitch.
And where did you start it in your diamond? I mean, in your star?
Where I started it in my star was probably right here. All right, so I could do where I started this one is where I could get the incomplete pattern, and I wasn't compensating in the first stitch. Okay, so it's not at the very edge, but it's close enough depending on how far over you go with your longest stitch. Make sense?
Which one is that?
Right there.
So you could kind of start here. Just
Yeah.
take a row down.
And the only other thing that I did last night, because I don't know why, we'll do the cashmere next week, but I was going through the book and I found another Bargello stitch. Okay. And this Bargello stitch has, it goes one, the pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. Yes, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you have one stitch in the first one, 2 stitches in the second grouping, 3 stitches in the next group, and then 4 stitches. And then the second row was all over 1. No matter, so if you had, and I'll try to draw this one out. It won't be pretty, I can promise you. So the first row, I probably set it up right down in here so I could get the full wave, was all of the different stitches. But then the row underneath it is just over 1. And if I had 1 and it was directly underneath it, so if I have 1, it's 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And to create that down there. And this is another one we'll demo. And it was just an interesting way to try another Bargello stitches, because as I said last week, Bargello stitches are really, I mean, there's so many different things. There's no set, nobody's saying you have to do a certain pattern. And I believe that one was in, wait, no, I don't know. I don't know where I found it. I actually might have found it online. Because I was looking for waves. Oh, no. It's in this new book. Bargello Waves. So this is page, I don't know. This is number 7 in that new book.
What's the name of the book?
The book is one we have in the store. Is that the new one?
I don't know.
No, More Quick. No, I have another. I'll get you it. I'll get it. It's called More Quick Stitches. Do you want me to send you one, Jean?
Sure.
Okay, I can send you one. All right.
You know
Everybody-
what? Don't send it to me. Well, no, it'll get here really quickly. Right? Because it
Yeah.
just comes now. Because we're gonna leave town. Not this weekend, next weekend.
Oh, yeah,
So it's here.
yeah. Okay.
Great.
I'll get that too.
Yeah. So those are the stitches for the, do you want to show?
I want to show something. Okay.
Back to the Nobuku for just 1 second. I forgot to tell you something. You can also run the Nobuku as a vertical stitch. I did that on the hat, Grinch's hat. And when you run it vertically, it actually gives you more like a straight line. So it'd be good for like a background for like a wallpaper. So if you're working it on your doodle or just trying it out, don't be alarmed that it looks so much different than the other Nobukus, because it does have a set pattern to it. Unlike the regular Nobuku, a double vertical Nobuku has sets, and I'll get her to send a picture of that close up as well. But as you can see there, it does give you more of the straight lines, almost like a goblin, but not like similar to a goblin. Yes. So you can also work that Nobuku as a vertical. So yes.
And what I'll do is the extra ones that we gave you will go out this afternoon in a document, and we'll get up all the tutorials this afternoon. So, yeah. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it. And as you're working through these, if you have it, and which star to start in, whatever star you want. You know, we were kind of talking about this before we got started, and this is truly a sampler. Okay. So, and you may not use any of the stitches anywhere else in your lifetime, but there might be a light that goes on one day and go, oh my God, I have the perfect stitch for that. And because you just never know what is going to, you know, every thread has a purpose, but every stitch has a purpose, and they don't always go together. And when we were doing this, this is why we used one particular thread. We knew that all of these could work together based on what we were trying to do. And this is not your, because this is, we're just about done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can come in. But because this is a sampler, you have the ability to play with these stitches. And some of them you might decide, I really don't like that. It will never work for me in my lifetime. And other times you're going to say, oh, wow. And Lisa's here and she was saying she was going to frame hers and put it somewhere for reference. And I never even thought about that because I'm thinking, oh, this darn thing has to be a pillow and where am I going to put it? But as I remembered, it was a sampler. And I was struggling with this canvas because I got, and the girls that are on my virtual sit and stitch know this, is I was struggling with it because it was taking so long to do the background and I just kind of threw it in the corner and I wanted to work on things I wanted to work on. And I wasn't allowed to. But like 2 nights ago when I picked it up and I just reminded myself that it was a sampler, I was fine because I could experiment with the stitches. I could experiment with the way I wanted the stitches, which is why in some places I've added continental and other places I did. In some places I have 3 colors and some places I have 2, whatever. I didn't care anymore. I basically just let it go and enjoying the process of learning some of these or practicing on these stitches that I know I've had difficulty with. You may never see a Nabucco on mine, but I'm going to try it. Okay. And honestly, don't rip anything out. This is a sampler. And so if you end up creating a new stitch while you're doing it, share the stitch with me. Let's see it. We'll call it your stitch. Maybe we'll use it somewhere else. It's all good. It's all good. And this is just a way to get you familiar with other stitches that you may not have heard of or stitches that you've heard of that you're like, where would I ever use that stitch? And you see it differently. And the funny thing is this canvas, the little name is down there. So it should go like this, but I did these 2, like I did these 3 like this. And I turned my canvas and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's not how I wanted that, but oh, well. And and if it does become a pillow, it ends up being thrown in every different direction anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And if there's a stitch you have that you're wanting to try that you've seen in a stitch book, this would be a great place to throw it in there.
Yeah.
And just give it a try. You don't necessarily have to use all the ones we're giving you. If there's something you want to try, this would be a good place to do it.
This is a great way to sample. And like we said, some of these you won't use in spaces and other ones you will use you may end up using all the time. I mean, I know Andrea's big on the Nabucco and she uses it almost everywhere. Okay. Where obviously we know I don't, but my favorite stitch is the Moorish stitch. So I try to fit it into as many canvases as I possibly can, which is kind of funny because the Moorish stitch is no less, it's the same degree of difficulty as the Nabucco is. It's just, I can get it. I can't get the other one. Yeah, we'll do that next week. So we'll have more next week. And you guys are good to go. And if you want to share your progress, please send it over. The other thing I can do too, if this helps anybody, is I can set up a Facebook page just for this.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Okay, I will go ahead and do it and it will be called Mosaic Tiles. Okay, and I will do that today.
Super.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any
Thank you very
questions?
much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I will talk to you all. Well, I'll see a couple of you later on this week.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mel.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.